General Hospital spoilers tease that Laura is facing an unprecedented political crisis as she receives a shocking petition from Port Charles voters, submitted by citizens who once trusted her in previous elections. This petition is not just a mild criticism but a passionate call for her to take decisive action and make a firm decision regarding one of the city's most pressing issues, Sonny Corinthos' criminal activities. These voters are no longer satisfied with Laura's leniency or hesitation regarding Sonny's crimes. Instead, they demand a strong change. A final decision to punish Sonny and stop allowing him to live in the shadows of the power structure Laura once protected. This petition is a huge shock to Laura, especially since it does not come from political opponents or those seeking to overthrow her, but from the very people she once considered her supporters, the same citizens who fueled her campaign over the years. They no longer view Sonny as an ally or a part of the power apparatus she built. Rather, they are now seeing the true extent of the crimes Sonny has committed and are demanding she face that reality. Laura, who has repeatedly blocked any deep investigations into Sonny's actions, now finds herself facing an unavoidable situation. Will she hold on to her position and maintain voter support, or will she sacrifice part of her political career to punish past wrongdoings? This creates a dramatic shift in Laura's policies. The demands for her to remove Sonny from the power structure she's maintained for years are not just a change in action, but a profound shift in her political thinking. Previously, Laura viewed Sonny as an important partner. The things she once accepted or ignored have become a serious threat to her career and reputation. If Laura is truly willing to remove Sonny from her political story, something she's never considered before, this will trigger a political explosion like Port Charles has never seen. The power relationship between them will not just be the end of an alliance, but a full power shift in a city riddled with schemes and confrontations. This decision will not only change the political landscape of Port Charles, but it will also put Laura in a position she never anticipated. Her former allies will begin to doubt her, asking whether she is still someone they can trust when she's willing to turn her back on an ally like Sonny. Her enemies will seize the opportunity to exploit this change, deepening the divisions and plunging Port Charles into a new period of instability. And if Laura does indeed remove Sonny, this decision will not only represent a simple change in how she handles the political situation but also mark a turning point in her life. Voters will no longer judge her merely by how she handles Sonny, but by how she deals with the challenges and pressures coming from all sides. This decision will prove whether Laura is a strong politician or someone too scared and exhausted by the world she's built. All of this will create a political explosion in Port Charles, forcing everyone to stop and consider where they stand, and whether the decisions made today will lead to a brighter future or an irreversible disaster. Laura is standing at a major crossroads in her political career, with her mayoral position under greater threat than ever before. After many years of holding power with relative stability, everything Laura has built is now crumbling piece by piece. It all started to get difficult when a shocking petition was submitted by the voters, demanding that Laura confront an issue she can no longer ignore: Sonny Corinthos. Sonny's criminal acts, which had been overlooked in the past, have now become a real danger to Laura's career. The voters, who once supported her, are no longer willing to side with someone so closely linked to criminals like Sonny. This places Laura in a very awkward situation. Throughout her career, Laura has always known how to maintain a tough image, unafraid of challenges or risks. However, this time, the threat is coming from within Port Charles itself, from the very people she's always served. They no longer trust that Laura can maintain fairness in power while people like Sonny continue to live and thrive in the shadows of power. Laura's mayoral position is not only under threat from political opponents, but also from the very people she once considered allies. The situation becomes tense when Laura realizes that in order to maintain her power, she will have to make a decision she never thought she would face: to remove Sonny from the power structure she has carefully built over the years. This is not a small change, it is a huge disruption, a renouncement of everything she has been protecting for so long. Laura's decisions now affect not only her but the entire Port Charles community. If she chooses to remove Sonny, she will face backlash from those who once stood by him, people who saw him as the protector of order in the city. This adjustment, the change in policy and Laura's relationship with Sonny, is not just a political shift but a personal one. A woman who once firmly protected power relationships now has to choose between maintaining old alliances or letting them go to protect her political future. As this decision becomes clearer, the more intense the turmoil, the more anxiety grows within Laura as she realizes that no matter how politically right her decision may be, it could mark the end of everything she has built. And this change is starting to create new shocks. Ezra and Drew, two highly influential figures, have now become the partners Laura must listen to. They have made her realize that continuing to protect Sonny is no longer a viable option. But agreeing to follow their demands is not an easy choice. It could cost her the support of those who once stood with her. Her former enemies, those who may not approve of her handling of this situation, will seize the opportunity to overthrow Laura. Therefore, Laura's decision to remove Sonny from her power story is not just an ordinary political move. It is a decision that marks a deep shift in policy and could also be the end of an era. This is not just the end of Sonny's reign but the beginning of a new one, where Laura will face even tougher choices in situations she never anticipated. As the political storm intensifies, Laura will not only face losing trust from the voters, but will also have to confront past decisions, past alliances, and the consequences of everything she once stood by. In this madness, Laura's story will not just be about a politician trying to save her career, but a woman facing profound internal conflicts and reconciling with those she once considered allies. Can Laura remove Sonny without losing the support of the city's citizens? Will this decision be the end of everything she once knew, or will it mark the start of a new chapter in her life and career? All these questions will shape Laura's fate in the coming weeks, and could lead Port Charles into an unavoidable political crisis. Laura is facing one of the greatest challenges of her political career as she must make a difficult choice: eliminate Sonny Corinthos, her longtime ally who has helped and protected her over the years, but now has become an unavoidable threat to her career. Laura's position as mayor, which was built on a foundation of power, influence, and the trust of the people of Port Charles, is now seriously threatened by Sonny's criminal actions. While Sonny's past actions may have been overlooked or ignored, the undeniable evidence of his crimes is becoming clearer, and if Laura does not act immediately, she will not be able to maintain her position. As a seasoned politician, Laura understands that her relationship with Sonny is not just a personal connection, but also a vital part of the power network in Port Charles. Over the years, they have worked together to maintain order in the city, protect the interests of the powerful, and even the common people. But the shift in public attitude, coupled with increasing pressure from voters, forces Laura to face an unavoidable truth. She must remove Sonny from her power narrative if she wants to maintain the trust and political power she holds. This decision is a huge shock, not only to Laura but also to everyone who has followed her life and career. Giving up an ally like Sonny, who has stood by her through many challenges, is not an easy choice. Laura must confront opposition not only from those who remain loyal to Sonny but also from pressures within her own family and the political realm. Every decision Laura makes not only impacts her but also affects the entire political landscape of Port Charles. Removing Sonny not only removes a part of her power network but could also lead to the collapse of everything she has built over the years. Just as Laura struggles with this difficult decision, an unexpected factor arises. Nicholas, her long-absent son, suddenly returns to Port Charles. Nicholas' return not only forces Laura to confront deep family conflicts but also raises important questions about power and leadership within the Quartermain family. Nicholas, with his strong personality and significant influence in Port Charles's elite circles, could now become a game-changer. His return at this moment, as Laura faces a significant shift in her political life, raises a big question about his role in the future of both the family and the city. With Nicholas' return, a new chain of events begins to unfold. Nicholas is not just Laura's son but also someone who may hold the key to solving the problems Laura is facing. He could help his mother maintain power, or conversely, he could become a major challenge to her position in both the family and Port Charles's politics. With all the unresolved family conflicts and issues from the past, Nicholas' return is not just about family emotions but also about power and competition within the Quartermain family. Will he side with his mother and help her weather this political storm? Or will he challenge Laura in the battle for power within the family? With Nicholas' return, Laura's decisions become even more complicated. The demands from voters and pressure from political opponents are increasing, while the haunting memories of Sonny and the decisions she made in the past begin to haunt her. Can Laura continue to maintain her relationship with Sonny to protect her power, or will she have to give up everything to do what is right, even if it leads to the collapse of what she has built? And will Nicholas' return help Laura find a wise path, or will it only push her into a new, even more difficult confrontation? All these factors create a tense and dramatic story where each of Laura's decisions impacts not only her family but also the entire political landscape of Port Charles. As the events unfold, one big question hangs in the air: will Laura overcome these challenges, or will everything collapse completely, marking the end of an era of power in Port Charles? Sonny is facing the greatest challenge of his life when his ultimate enemy is not a crime syndicate, not a rival, or a longtime foe, but his longtime friend, the one person he once saw as an ally. Laura, who was once his teammate and an important partner during Sonny's reign over Port Charles's underworld, now puts him in a situation that he could never have anticipated. Faced with political pressure and community demands, Laura has made an abrupt decision, one that shocks Sonny. He must face the consequences of his past crimes. And this could make him pay a harsh price. Sonny's life has always been intertwined with power and control, but now, he must confront an unimaginable shock. Laura, who has always stood by him during his toughest times, is now the one making the decision that will bring him down. With the increasing evidence of Sonny's crimes in the past, especially his brutal actions and ties to criminal organizations, Laura can no longer protect him. This decision not only makes Sonny feel betrayed but also signifies a shift in their relationship, a relationship once built on power and trust, now becoming a shocking betrayal that forces Sonny to face his downfall. When Sonny returns to Port Charles after heart surgery in LA, he cannot expect that what awaits him is not a welcome, but a confrontation with the law. Laura, with her political power and influence in the community, has orchestrated a plan that forces Sonny to face the crimes he has evaded for so long. With the help of figures like Drew and Ezra, who have urged Laura to take a hard stance, Sonny now faces not just old enemies, but the betrayal of the one person he once considered his ally. The warning came too late, and Laura's betrayal is a shock that Sonny cannot avoid. With undeniable evidence of his criminal activities, Sonny will face arrest and trial as soon as he steps back into town. This is not just a punishment for his past mistakes but also the end of Sonny's reign. The past he built from shady deals to relationships with crime families is now coming back to threaten him. Every effort to maintain power and control will not be enough to save him. And facing the legal forces of Port Charles, Sonny has no place to hide. This is not only a huge shock for Sonny but also a devastating blow to the trust of those who supported him. Laura, his longtime friend, is now the one who brings him down, placing him in an inescapable situation. While political reasons may be behind Laura's decision, this action will forever change the power dynamics in Port Charles. Sonny, once an untouchable kingpin, must now face the end of an era. With Sonny returning in a weakened state after his heart surgery, he cannot fathom that his end will not come from external enemies, but from his closest friend. This story is opening a new, tense chapter where betrayal and political decisions will change everything. Can Sonny escape prosecution, or will this be the end of the empire he spent years building? All of this will be decided in the coming weeks as the threat from old enemies and inevitable changes in Port Charles's political scene lead to an inescapable conclusion. Laura is at a major crossroads in her political career, facing a difficult decision she never expected to encounter: retirement. After many years holding the position of mayor of Port Charles, Laura now faces the reality that her days of power may soon be coming to an end. This is not just because of fatigue or pressure from the job, but due to the increasing challenges and volatility in the city's politics. Her past mistakes, alliances with criminal forces, and especially her relationship with Sonny, a former ally, now an unavoidable threat, have all pushed Laura to the brink of change. Retirement is not just about giving up a job, it's about accepting an inevitable shift in power. A shift that brings both opportunities and dangers. When Laura decides to retire, a power vacuum will be created in Port Charles's politics. This is a position many have always coveted. And Laura's departure will throw the city into a significant power crisis. Those who once stood behind her will now have to face tough decisions about whether to continue maintaining power or seek change. The insiders and power-hungry individuals will not let this vacuum remain unchallenged, leading to a scramble for control. The balance of power in the city will begin to shift. New factions will emerge, and the struggle for dominance will intensify. Everything could be turned upside down, and these changes will thrust Port Charles into an unpredictable period. One of the most significant changes following Laura's departure will be Sonny's emergence in a new role. No longer a crime boss lurking behind political power. No longer protected and aided by Laura, Sonny will now have to navigate a new political world without the shelter of his old ally. But with the mayor's seat vacant and tensions rising in the city, Sonny realizes that this is the opportunity he has been waiting for to rebuild his influence and power. He is no longer just a hidden criminal figure, he must now step into the light as a formidable political force, capable of running and controlling Port Charles from behind the scenes. This shift is a massive shock to everyone. Sonny, who once held supreme power in the criminal world, must now contend with a reality where his adversaries come not just from the criminal underworld, but from political enemies on all sides. Adjusting to survive and seize power will not be easy. Sonny's rivals will stop at nothing to exploit his weaknesses. And the political storm will only intensify. Every move Sonny makes now not only impacts his own life but could reshape the power dynamics in Port Charles, forcing those who have stood by him or against him to reconsider their next steps. This creates a new kind of madness in the Port Charles narrative. Laura's retirement opens the door to a new power struggle between old and new forces, with Sonny now becoming a central figure in this high-stakes political game. But it doesn't stop there. The arrival of new characters like Drew and Ezra further complicates the situation. Drew and Ezra's demands on Laura, pushing her into a difficult position regarding Sonny's removal, are part of a broader, more calculated plan to completely change the city's political landscape. If Sonny decides to not only maintain his influence within the criminal world but also seize the political opportunity, he will face not just old enemies but betrayal from those he once trusted. With Laura's departure, Port Charles is not only lacking power but also staring into an uncertain future. The political struggles will become increasingly intense and explosive. And the big question is whether Sonny can seize this moment to solidify his position, or if this change will lead to the collapse of everything he has built in the past. Everything is gradually changing, and with every decision Sonny makes, a new landscape will take shape. But will all these shocks and chaos bring stability? Or will they only push Port Charles into an unending political whirlwind? The answer to all these questions will determine the future of Port Charles, of those who stand behind it, and those fighting to replace them.